What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Golf 360 podcast. I'm the host, Pete Popovich. So you may be asking yourself, what is Golf 360? And Golf 360 is a show that was designed to introduce you to people associated with the game of golf to help you improve not only at your game, but also your life. Almost all of our guests are from within the industry in some way, shape, or form, but some of the guests we have are from outside the industry, and it mainly revolves around the business world with a few others scattered in here and there. Now, all of the guests that we have a few things in common. One, they all were highly successful and accomplished in their field. Two, each has something to pass along that will help you in your game and your life. And three, they were all more than willing to give back by passing along the things that they use to help them in their career, and even some of the mistakes that they made so that others don't make them in their journey. So I hope you find listening to them as enjoyable as I did interviewing them, and that each and every one of you benefits from the information that they so willingly and graciously pass along. Hey everybody, I want to give a big shout out to a new sponsor of the Golf 360 podcast, and that's Affinity Wealth Management Group. We all work exceptionally hard for our money, and none of us can afford to let that fall into the dark abyss of the big box financial service firms and their jack of all trades and master of none mantra, which basically means you become a number within a cookie cutter model that's also often accompanied by massive fees. Your future deserves more than average returns and little attention. At Affinity Wealth Management, they ensure that your financial goals receive highly individualized, tailored attention from experts, not just advisors, who are in the industry to be great and not average. As a client of Affinity Wealth, you receive a customized solution to your customized life, keeping in mind your family's financial situation, values, and risk tolerance. Call Affinity Wealth today for a no-cost consultation with one of their experts at 724-754-8200. Again, that's 724-754-8200. Or you can also check them out on the web at www.affinitywealthmg.com. That's AFFINITYWEALTHMG.com. This podcast is brought to you in part by Just Thrive Probiotic. You may be surprised to learn that your digestive system is the key to creating and maintaining the quality of your physical, mental, and emotional health, and it's one of the body's most essential systems. That's why the majority of nutritionists today highly recommend probiotics as an indispensable nutritional supplement. As a discriminating consumer, you've probably been searching for a probiotic that is proven, potent, and effective, and you found it. Just Thrive is your best choice for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Just Thrive Probiotic captures the power of hundreds of thousands of years of nature's design with a specialized bacillus strain formulation that guarantees survivability through the stomach and upper digestive system. Supports optimum gut health, digestive health, immune health, and delivers antioxidants. Great for adults, kids, and the whole family. Use promo code GOLF360 at www.thriveprobiotic.com for 10% off your order. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, golfers of all ages. I love sitting down and talking to today's guest, Dan Hellman, because every time I do, I walk away a smarter person. The amount of knowledge that he possesses when it comes to fixing broken bodies of athletes and golfers in particular is second to none. His toolbox, as he calls it, is filled with things to help you not only get back to playing, but playing better and longer. He's trained and fixed the broken bodies of golfers at all skill levels, from average weekend hackers to some of the best golfers on the PGA Tour and even the greatest of all time. He's been on the show before when we talked about Eldoa for golfers and his work with some of the most renowned health practitioners in the world, guys like Paul Chek and Dr. Guy Voyer. And Dan's come back to discuss some of the hottest topics in golf today, which is increasing swing speeds, lifting heavy weights, and what are the long-term effects of those things on the body. We then get into his new TV channel called H3 TV, where he has taken a lifetime of his work and made it available to the masses via his website. So you procrastinators don't have any more excuses to not get healthier and stronger if you want to play better golf. If getting to see him in Fort Lauderdale was too far to travel, now you can do it from the comfort of your own home. If you didn't have the financial means to do so, he's made it more than affordable to utilize his lifetime of learning so you can get out of pain and start enjoying life and playing golf again. So go check it out. But before you do, be sure to listen to this episode. So give it up for physical therapist and trainer extraordinaire, Dan Hellman. All right, always a pleasure to have Dan Hellman on. Dan, thanks for coming back. Second interview. We talked about this when we did your first one, and it's always a pleasure to sit down and talk to you.
Thanks, Pete. Good to hear from you, man.
So you've been a very busy person. Even with the COVID, it's been fun watching your Instagram interviews, and that's turned into what looks like a TV channel. But and we'll definitely get to that. That's going to be the bulk of what we talk about. But I follow you on Instagram and social medias, do a lot of others, and I was watching your Asheville trip, and you've got to be one of the biggest coffee connoisseurs that I know.
Yeah, not just a coffee connoisseur. For me, I don't have to have, and when we say coffee, I'm talking espresso. I don't have to have it. For me, I drink it because I like it, and so. If I can't get really, really nice espresso from a local mom and pop shop, you're not going to see me going into a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts or someplace like that because I just don't think it tastes very good. So, yeah, every place I go, whenever I was teaching for the Czech Institute, as soon as I would get to whatever city I was teaching in, the first thing I would do after I unpacked I would Google search organic food, and then I would Google search the best espresso bars in town. And it was always fun going to these little mom and pop shops and seeing what they can do with espresso. So I really enjoy it.
Do you still have the Breville Express?
Yeah, so I have that in my office. At home, I have a Gaggia espresso maker and a Gaggia grinder. And if I remember right, the grinder was just as expensive as the coffee maker, and I was always taught that the grind is as important as the maker. So at home I use the Gaggia, and in my office I use the Breville. And the Breville, as you know, it's for the amount of money that it costs, it does an amazing job of making a nice espresso. So yeah, that Breville barista machine is a good unit.
I'm going to have whenever you get up this way, I'm going to have you show me, because for whatever reason, sometimes I can't get that crema right. It just doesn't work. And I clean it, and then I wash it out, and I watch all the videos, and then it works for 3 cups, and then it doesn't, and it just drives me nuts. So
yeah, it's all about the grind, the grind, the humidity that you're in, the temperature of the room. It can be fickle, that's for sure. I know here, my assistant Mark has a hard time making a good one, and I'll plop in there and I'll draw a really nice one. So it kind of depends, and it all depends on the present circumstances with the grind, and like I said, even the humidity in the room makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm learning. I'm amateur, and honestly, I never drank coffee until about 3 years ago. But I'm quickly rising in my inability to. or my ability to enjoy a good cup of Joe.
Yeah, and like I said, if there's days that I can't get something good that I want, I don't have it, and it's not. I don't have to have it. I don't get the crazy headaches because I really only drink 1 to maybe 2 little single shots of espresso a day. I don't drink more than
that. Mm-hmm. You're kind of, would you call yourself a food connoisseur too? I mean, or you appreciate good food the same that you do? I appreciate
good food. Yeah, I appreciate good food, and I appreciate those that go the extra distance, not the big factory farms where the animals are treated inhumanely. And I appreciate what it takes to produce sustainable, crops and animals. So I would prefer to put my money into something like that than into a big factory farm. And that's one of the reasons why I like Asheville. Asheville is all about I don't think I've ever been in a place where every restaurant is as good as the next, and they all are really crazy about the quality of their food, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, it is. For anyone that hasn't been there, it's awesome. The only place I've been that might, well, it probably did pass. It was in Cape Town, South Africa. That place, the food, because everything there, it's surrounded by farms, and they call them wine farms instead of wineries. And the wine, it's every single restaurant you go into. And if you ever get the chance with your love of coffee, and that's why I ended up getting that Breville. You had it and told me how great it was, and I go to Africa, and the coffee was unbelievable. And I come home, it's like, oh, I Starbucks, and not Dunkin' Donuts.
No.
Like, just no way, it's not
the
working.
same.
Once you have
and
really
the other country too, believe it or not, a lot of the really good baristas come out of Australia. And my few times in Australia, there's never a shortage of wonderful coffee shops.
You know, since you and Doc Hollis helped me get into cleaner diet, and you know, like I said years ago, my diet wasn't bad. It was just not, once you open eyes up to someone like you and him who really know what good eating is. And I got a pellet grill. I got the Pit Boss.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, I'm an amateur griller, and I even make stuff that tastes like it's from a 5-star Michelin restaurant. I don't know how, but
people are also raving. I don't have one yet, but people are also really raving over those air cookers. I have a couple of clients and friends that have them, and they absolutely love them.
That's not and I don't know how to say the French cooker where it's in the sous vide.
No, this is like I don't think I like the Ninja or something like that. I can't remember, but it basically cooks everything in hot air. And all of the fats and stuff drip to the bottom of the container. And I've had clients and friends that just swear by these things.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying. I even have done my own garden, and that turned out not so good. Yeah, the first couple batch, and I had no idea what I was doing. I just planted seeds wherever, spaced them out. But now I've got way too many hot peppers, way too many red peppers. My little 6-inch basil tree turned into a 5-foot. I tell all my neighbors, if you need it, you want to make some whatever, come and take it. It's yours. I got way too much.
Nothing better than fresh basil.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so thanks for getting me started down that path. It's made a big difference.
Excellent.
So this weekend, you watch the Open?
Of course. I watched as much as I could, and I found it very fascinating. I think the game of golf is changing in front of our eyes.
Mm-hmm. We talked briefly when Bryson first started on that mat training. Have you looked into that at all since about a year or so ago?
I know just a little bit about the muscle activation technique. It's funny that you bring that up. I was actually going to do some more searching on it this week when I had time, but I have not personally taken a course in MAT. So I can't really speak to it. I mean, I do know that it is, from my perspective of what I know of it, it's isolation of a muscle. And, when I was working with Dr. Boyer, well, first of all, if I go back to Paul Chek and Gary Gray, they're all about functional training. And then, I meet Dr. Boyer, and Dr. Boyer is like, okay, but before you can have that, you have to know how to isolate and work each muscle. And not only do you need to know how to do that, you should know how to work the muscle proximally, distally, superficially, or deep. So every muscle has different ranges and things like that. And when I started using segmental strengthening in my programs, I got really good results, even though I was indoctrinated into, well, everything has to be quote unquote functional. And so I'm assuming that with the MAT techniques for Bryson is that, they're just making him completely strong in all of the muscles of his body, and working with Chris Como and just going down that path, and Chris being really open to new information and technology is, fortunately has paid off in spades for these guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Chris I think he's done an amazing job. And Chris, if you listen, you're earmarked to get scheduled on the show too. It's, to me, the one thing about Chris that's couple things that are fascinating is that he works so well with Bryson and Mike Shy. Chris came in and obviously did not have an ego, and kudos to Mike for allowing another instructor to come in and help out. And it just shows their dedication to the improvement of Bryson as a player.
Sure.
And Chris's continual ability to take golfers at an elite level and make them even another level better. What he did with Tiger swing, and I know he's called a consultant now with Tiger, but I don't know if Tiger gets to the 2019 Masters without Chris's help and another physical fitness trainer that you and I both know very well.
Sure.
But as far as the differences in the training, that it seems like a lot of the we'll call it traditional, and you use the real terms, the differences in the two that you used. Was it segmental?
Yeah, segmental strengthening or functional training.
Okay, segmental and functional versus what the mat training is. So versus like training a specific muscle only. Would that be the difference between like a squat where you're stabilizing and doing the movement versus just being
Sure.
in something like a machine where you're focused on one muscle in particular?
Sure, exactly. So you have what we call global or functional exercises like a squat, a lunge, a push, a pull, a bend. Those are global exercises as opposed to isolating your pec. So there's a different philosophy. And, Dr. Voy and even Paul Chek said early on, isolate and then integrate. So if you don't have a good, pec major or a good biceps and you just try to do a global movement, the body will create bigger imbalances between the weaker and the stronger muscles. And that's a little bit the same thing with proprioception. So for example, when I was going through physical therapy school, if somebody had an injured ligament in their ankle, they would put them on a balance board and they would say, oh, this is what you need to do for proprioception. Well, Dr. Voy comes along and says, well, if you do that and you work in a global fashion, you're just creating a bigger muscle or a bigger gradient between the injured and the non-injured ligament. And that made sense to me. And I think that's a little bit like the difference between, a global or a functional exercise and an isolation exercise. I think there's no doubt at the end of the day, once you get the muscles turned on, you do need to do some functional patterns. But I don't think it's as important as some people have stated it to be.
Yeah, and that makes total sense to me too. In that if you have a sprained ankle and then you're activating all the muscles, then the one that's hurt isn't going to activate at the same level as the others. So their acceleration on strength is going much more rapid, and the hurt
Sure.
area is just kind of staying idle, maybe getting a few percentage points better. And I can see that clearly. Hopefully,
sure,
other people will too. So
one comment on Chris and Bryson. Chris and Bryson are two peas in a pod. I mean, they're both geeks. Chris is a geek, and I say that in an endearing way. Chris. The one thing that I loved about Chris, and I know Chris very well, is he's always got an open mind. He doesn't believe there's any one. Of course, he's got his philosophy and his ideas, but he never poo-poos anyone's approach, and he's always open to new ideas. And I just think he and Bryson, are a really good match together because they both, march to the beat of their own drum. And I really think that they're going to be a powerful team that's going to contend for many golf tournaments to come.
Yeah, the fact that Chris set up an entire studio in his living room.
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. And I looked at my girlfriend when they said that on the chat. She said, don't even think about it. So you can go in the backyard or you can go to the course right down the road.
Sure.
The modern game, and we touched on it the first time you came on, seems to be not even drifting. It's full bore now with speed and distance and training. and how Bryson is doing it. Because there's been a lot of golfers, and you and I have discussed different pro golfers in particular who do a lot of heavy lifting, but Bryson's has done it, and it's made an extreme, it's not even noticeable, but drastic difference in his game where some of these other players are getting hurt. Mm-hmm. Where do you see what Bryson has done, or do you, in golfers of elite levels and therapists and trainers like yourself designing programs? Is it going to go towards more of that heavier, or is it?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm not that familiar with the muscle activation technique theory. I do know that when I was traveling on the PGA tour during the events and watching other trainers working with their professional golfers, I mean, I just saw them basically treating their golfer like a bodybuilder, which I think is the wrong approach. I did see a lot of, heavy lifting, deadlifting and things like that, which again, I don't have a problem with as long as you have techniques that offset the increased compression that you're putting through the body. Because let's face it, we're not designed, we're human beings. We weren't born golfers, football players, hockey players, runners. These are all things that we have done to our bodies. The human body is not designed to, practice every day. I found it so amazing that, we finished the FedEx Cup and then the following week, the new season began already, and there's just no downtime anymore. And, so if you're going to do those heavy things, if you're going to do that type of lifting to create bulk, you sure better have some techniques that maintain your mobility, and not just maintaining the mobility, because when I say maintain mobility, I'm talking about soft tissue, but you also better have some techniques that decompress the joints, because, the joints wear out. That's why people get knee replacements, hip replacements, they get back fusions, disc replacements in the back, etc. And, everything comes at a cost. And like Dr. Boy always said, is what is your goal? If your goal is to win, your program is going to look different than someone if their goal is just to feel better. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So if your goal is to win, you already have it in your mind that you, or hopefully you do, that you are going to be probably trading some years of glory for eventually, as you get older, some years of pain. And that's the trade-off. And like Tiger always said, that is the what's the word I'm looking for? That's the cost of doing business is the orthopedic problems. That's the cost of doing business. So you have to understand that if you're going to do X, Y, and Z, that, probably down the road, you're going to have some pain.
And the thing that, the other thing about Bryson is his caloric intake. I mean, I think it's 6,000 plus. It seems to be fine when you're 26 years old. And right. I think I messaged you one day and said, how is that going to affect him? Or is that something he can do for an extended period of time and longevity in his career and more important, his health? And I'm not trying to get you to make a comment on that. You don't need to throw that out there, but it just seemed to me like that's nothing that you can sustain.
I don't think so either. I mean, as you get older, everything changes. I just turned 50 this year, so I realize the changes that happen as you get older, and I do think that age is just a number. I do think it, how you take care of yourself, what you put in your body, how you exercise, will play a big factor on how you age and if you age gracefully. But I don't think that doing a program like Bryson's doing is sustainable for a long period of time. I don't know. He's the guinea pig. I think right now the experiment looks amazing, but we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah, I've been asked a couple of times. It's like, okay, if you can, what he's doing now. It's not different that golfers in the past have used heavy training to get bigger. And probably seen the results of hitting it longer. And there's some who haven't, right? That their speeds actually got slower. But what he's doing as a whole that way is not different. But what he's doing where he's getting these big jumps is he's in a different category than probably any point in history where, the obviously the Hogan and the Snead era didn't have these things. The Nicklaus and the Johnny Miller era didn't have these. So he's definitely getting people to notice. And it's like, it's going to be interesting to see how golfers at that level, if they change or if they say, no, to me, it's not worth picking up 10 yards or running the risk. And Bryson, I think Chris was on the Golf Channel the other day, he said Bryson knew the risks in making a change, that sometimes it doesn't work out.
Sure.
So that part of the game I think is very exciting. I think instructors like myself and trainers and therapists like yourself and the golfing public is watching this kind of in anticipation of, well, okay, we're just scratching the surface this year. What happens next year is all these guys go into, quote, off season and come back in the spring. Do you?
Well, when I was at Carnoustie for the Open, I remember I was in my room and I was listening to the broadcast while I was in my room, and so that was 3 summers ago now, 2 summers ago, and I remember the announcer saying the one golf statistic that absolutely makes no difference anymore is driving accuracy. And that kind of shocked me when they said that. And that was, before Bryson's made this incredible transformation in his body and his swing speed and the distance that he's getting, et cetera. But, they were saying that several summers ago that driving accuracy just doesn't matter anymore. And like they said on the telecast over the Open, is they call it bomb and gouge. They bomb it down as far as they can, and then they take a wedge and they gouge it out of the rough. And if you're in the rough and you only have a wedge or a 9-iron or an 8-iron in your hand, there's these guys are so good and they're so strong. There's a good chance that they're going to get the ball pretty damn close to the pin.
Yeah, and the idea that if you hit it longer is going to benefit you exponentially. I mean, that was written about, and let me think of the book. It was How Golf Clubs Work, and I think the second part of that was How to Optimize Their Design. And they talked about if you hit it X amount of yards further than what you're doing now and or your competition, and Dr. Sasha is coming on tomorrow, and we're going to have a long discussion on that, you can have a distinct advantage over your competitors. And but again, I think that the interesting thing with Bryson is he's found a way to do it without going backwards. Everything is gone forwards.
Yeah, he's got you would think, common sense would say that with all that he's done, that his short game would suffer, but his short game's incredible, and he putts lights out. Mm-hmm. So really, he's kept all of his incredible skills. I mean, let's face it, he's a good golfer. He's a phenomenal golfer. And all those people that keep waiting for him to fall flat on his face, they need to get over it. Bryson is an incredible talent. And, you don't win the U.S. Am and then go on to win. I don't know how many tournaments he's won now and on the PGA Tour. But, one of my clients just won the U.S. Am, this last U.S. Am, Ty Strafossi. And, I remember Tiger saying, he won it 3 years in a row. And I remember him saying it's one of the most difficult things he's ever done in his life. So if you're winning the USM and then you're going on to win PGA Tour events, you're good. You're just flat out good.
Mm-hmm. If there's any slight hiccup in his game, and they brought it up, I think earlier this week or last week, is his shorter irons. And that for the level that he's playing at, it's not up to the same level that, say, his driving or his putting are. But I mean, if he gets it that there, it could be scary what he does. And I just hope that in knowing clubs as I do and fittings and their effect on the swing and the body and everything else, he's got excessive length. Everyone knows that. He's got stronger lofted, but the head weight has to become lighter when you have a wedge that's that long. And then you go excessive upright, the graphite shaft, and then the oversized grip. I just hope that he's able to solve that problem, and that the win now just doesn't make it that he thinks he doesn't have to do it, because he's like we said earlier, he's really probably just scratching the surface on his quest.
But listen, he's a numbers guy, and if he sees that he's lacking in a certain range, damn well that he's going to go after and attack that little hiccup in his game. And let's face it, Matt Wolf hits it as far as Bryson does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Matt Wolf kills it, but Bryson, because he's won before, he's been there, he could handle the emotions, the stress. There was no fans there yelling and screaming. So I just think, again, Bryson's got a complete all around game, and now that he's got that driver as a weapon, look out.
Do you see that the speeds players are swinging at now, and the weight training and the reduction in time off is causing more? Well, is there more injury, and are those things causing it?
I think so. I definitely think so. I think again, you spend all this time on the practice range, hitting thousands of balls. You go to a tournament and you're not only do you hopefully have 4 rounds, but you have the pro-am prior. So that's 5 rounds. You have the practice round before that. And they're just, these guys are going just week after week after week after week with that same schedule, sleeping in different hotel rooms, changing time zones. I don't know what their diets are like. And then hitting the gym and working out, it's just at some point something's got to give. Again, we're at our joints they wear out, or we get tendinitises, we get inflammation. I just think it's just a combination of all of the above. The golf season has turned into 12 months out of the year.
Because this is kind of an area, and one of the reasons I love talking to you about it is that golfer that the shafts and clubs getting lighter, the training to allow them to swing harder is going to do something negatively, because as you said, the body is not meant to move at those speeds and at that repetitive motion over and over. And just as you can call it a hobby, you can call it a question in my mind that I think about at 3:00 in the morning is, okay, what is being done or what can be done to curb that? Is it just, okay, don't swing as hard? Like Louis Oosthuizen, he said he geared back because he wanted to play the rest of his career without injury, and he wanted to play the senior tour if he felt like it. But it just seems like the mainstream of golf is just going harder, longer, faster.
Well, and they're disproving some myths too, Pete. We were taught you're born with a certain percentage of slow twitch muscles, you're born with a certain percentage of fast twitch muscles, and you're born with a lot of undifferentiated muscles. And it's what you do. Like I know TPI from Esteban Bali, the Eastern Bloc countries, all of their data says that, hey, as a young boy or a young girl, you basically have 2 windows of speed. You need to hit those 2 windows of speed to create fast twitch muscle fibers. And I want to say that finishes in their research, that finishes by the age of like 15, 16. So in other words, according to their technology or their research, if you basically sat on the couch and played Xbox your entire childhood, the chance of you being a fast twitch athlete are a lot slimmer. Now, Bryson didn't sit and play Xbox. He was a golfer. But at the age, what is he, 27 now?
Right at 26, 27, right in
26, 27. He definitely has taken this new muscle that he's put on his body and he's turned them into fast twitch muscle fibers. And so I think a lot of this is very interesting for people like me in the rehab and the training world, that, yeah, you can create new speed as you get older, and, you just got to do it safely. Yeah.
And I did this as a test for myself. And unfortunately I did it right after I got done with my playing career, but the guy I was working with, an old timer, he goes, you that 20 rep stuff, he goes, just dump it for now. He said, start doing no more than 8. And I did. And the distances just kept jumping and the body never hurt. I mean, we talked, my stock 8 iron was, I think at that time, 178 to 180. And that was 15 years ago with the technology and the loss and everything back then. But, and then my body started breaking down, and I wouldn't say it was from that. It was from other things. But you can definitely pick up some serious speed on that fast twitch. And as you said, Bryson's an example. And I think the general consensus now is that lifting heavy, or at least cycling through a heavy lift cycle and then going back to maybe lower weights, does something in the body to where subconsciously it feels safe. So it allows it to move faster. I think that's become the general consensus, where before it used to be, don't lift heavy, you're going to screw yourself up.
Sure. And like you said, the equipment, everything's getting lighter, so they're swinging it faster. And I do think, having that extra muscle and meat on your body, I do think that really does a nice job of protecting the joints as well. Whereas if you're really, then again, now Dustin Johnson falls in the face of this. He's been pretty healthy. He's very thin and has incredible swing speeds, and he seems to be holding out pretty good. But from my perspective, the more healthy muscle tissue you can surround the joints with, I think the better off you're going to be.
In today's world of measurement, because everything nowadays seems to be measured. We measure golf balls and spin and launch and direction and paths. And from my end, from your end, you can measure, the structure and forward head posture and fascia and all those things. And I think those things were those are being brought forth to the masses now, where guys like you and Guy Voyer and Czech and a lot of other very high level trainers knew a lot of these things before. Do you think that individualizing the training more and more is going to help alleviate some injuries, that maybe some guy's doing deadlifts too heavy and he hurts his hip or his knee? That identifying those, whether those are weaknesses from a structural instability standpoint, or are they weaknesses from over repetitive use and an imbalance? Is your field going to be able to determine those, or can you determine those already?
I think we starting to be able to determine some of that already, with the different testing and stuff that we can do. Again, I think some of it's a little bit of a crapshoot. The human body is so unique. Anyone that thinks they know a little bit about the human body, I think the more they dive into it, the more they realize they don't know. And there's just so many factors. There's so many external factors. Again, the dietary habits, like Paul Chekov used to say, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit, basically saying, if you eat a crap diet, your body can't produce good, healthy tendons, good, healthy ligaments, good, healthy muscle. So, I think we are doing a fairly good job at finding some of those imbalances, like you said, that will help prevent injuries down the road. But I also think there's just always going to be this mystery of the human body, of why one exercise, really benefited this one person, but for another person, it was their kryptonite. And I think that's just the wonderful mystery of the body.
Yeah, because that seems to be where it is right now, right? You have a couple of these guys who are top 5, top 10 in the world that are injuring themselves with heavy lifting, and then you got guys like Bryson who are elevating their game with heavy lifting. It's like, okay, seems to me that the mystery or the question would be is, how do you differentiate what is and how do you specify what is good for the individual?
Sure.
Right. Same thing with the swing. If you tweak a guy's grip at that level, it could completely send his game into the dump.
Sure. And I might be the wrong one to really be asking some of these questions to, because my history. My history is with broken golfers. I don't know what it's like, to be honest with you, to really train a non-broken golfer. So, when I work with my golfers, my whole approach is, number one, don't freaking hurt them more than they already are. Number two, what can I do to help them get over this present injury? Number three, what can I do to prevent this injury from happening again? So for me, I'm never really into oh, how can I make this guy swing it faster and harder? Because that's just never really been my clientele. My clientele are those that have been injured. They can't get over their injury. They still want to play golf. And that's usually the client that ends up on my doorstep. So again, I don't really know what it's like to train a non-injured golfer. I really don't.
Which is a shame, because if it's like people don't seek out holistic people like yourself or a Palchek until they've run the gamut of the traditional sense and nothing seems to help them. And then they really learn.
Why would they? Why would they? When you're young and you can get away with anything, and you can eat whatever you want, and you can sleep when you want, and you're invincible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not until you start getting a little bit older in life that you realize that you're no longer invincible.
Yeah, guilty as charged. I mean, I was the junk food, like any other. You eat anything you want to, and you're always in great shape. You got six pack and everything. Well, why do I have to eat healthy for?
Well, we all have, Pete. I mean, that's just kind of how it all rolls. We don't usually have to start taking care of ourselves until we start seeing those red flags pop up.
But I would think that some of these guys would start to come see you before they get hurt. They've obviously seen the body of work that you've done. And yeah, it was with golfers who are already damaged or hurt, and then you help bring them back to prominence. It's like, okay, something in someone's head has got to click and say, well, if Dan did that with a guy who was broken, what could he do with me? One, to keep me from getting hurt, and two, to just take my game to a whole new level. It just seems like it's so simple that maybe they're looking beyond.
I just don't think people think that way. And again, when you look at, if we're talking just sheer golf, I don't think they even have time. Again, the sheer amount of tournaments that are being played, sponsorship things they have to do. These guys are just inundated with, 24/7 nonstop business that I think if it's not broke, they don't really even think about why fix it.
Until it's too late.
Well, and when it's too late, and then that's when my phone rings, and I honor that. As I was taught early in my career, the pain doctor is the biggest teacher, and sometimes you need the pain doctor to wake you up, and if you don't listen to the pain doctor, then you have the disease doctor, and if the disease doctor doesn't wake you up, then here comes the death doctor. So you go through these phases in life where the universe knocks us over the head to try to get us to pay attention. And, when you're young and invincible, a lot of times it takes, a few knocks over the head to get you to pay attention.
All right, let's move into something that you've recently released, and that's your H3 TV.
Oh yeah.
Very cool stuff.
Thanks to COVID.
it isn't it amazing how things in the world or life can afford an opportunity where everyone else is complaining about. I mean, Apple was started in a recession, and you started H3 TV in COVID, and it's obviously growing because you're pushing it quite a bit, and people are gravitating to it. I think, but based on what I can see, they're looking and they're interested and they're subscribing. How is it? Is that what you're seeing? Is it growing the way you want to? Is it growing faster?
Absolutely. And I'm just going to start working on the marketing aspect of it in the next couple of weeks with no marketing at all. I think I'm already up to 70 subscribers.
Jeez.
And that's just, by me posting stuff on social media and word of mouth. But, I have to thank Greg Rose from the Titleist, or from the Performance Institute, no longer Titleist, Performance Institute, for spurring me on in this direction. I was in Oceanside at TPI, and I was with Janet Alexander. We were filming Aldoa for baseball, because TPI has now cemented themselves in the baseball world as well. And he looked at, I said to him, "Hey, Greg, how's business going?" And he looked at me and he goes, "It has," and I expected him to say, "Oh, it's crappy, blah, 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 because of the downturn and the COVID." And he looked at me, he goes, "We have had the best year of our lives." And I looked at him and go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Because people want to do stuff online. Number one, they're afraid to travel. Number two, it's expensive. You're putting in a room together with a group of people. You don't know who they are, and you don't know if they could have been infected with COVID. And you can go on and on and on of the reasons why we were so ripe for this. And he said, we've had our best year ever. We've taken everything online. And he looked at Janet and I, and he goes, you guys are doing live Zoom classes, right? And Janet and I looked at each other and we said, no. He goes, you guys are idiots. I go, oh, okay. And he goes, with your following, why wouldn't you be doing that? And I just thought, I never really thought about it, because I was always under this mindset that, oh, the person needs to be in front of me. I need to be able to put my hands on them, etc. But I don't, during this last year, we haven't had that luxury. And so I thought to myself, well, maybe Greg's right. And then Greg said, yeah, you should start a membership base. And I thought, oh my God, he's right. So I got home, I got a 4K camera, I got a huge white screen background, and I just started putting my content online. And that's how H3 TV was born. And the one thing, I'm my own worst critic. I don't think I know anything most of the time. Like, somebody comes to me, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with this person? A lot of it is intuition. A lot of it, just my intuition takes over. I design the program. I see how it goes. I change it on the fly if I have to. But there's one thing that I have always been good at, and that's probably why I was instructor for Paul Chek, and now I'm an instructor for Guy Voyer, is that I'm really good at giving instruction, and I'm good at teaching. And so I thought to myself, the exercises that I am giving people, I know they work. I have so many clinical examples of them working. And as a matter of fact, because people usually would come in and see me, I would film everything on their phone, and then they would fly out, and be gone for a month or 2 months, whatever. And then they would come back. And you know what? I would find out that they were not doing the exercise exactly the way I wanted them to do it. But it didn't matter. Even if they were doing it 50% correct, they were still getting an incredible benefit. So I thought to myself, why not just put it out there, put it on video? People can do this in the safety and the comfort of their own home. It's at a fraction of the cost of what it would cost to come and see me. And it's been a huge success. So I'm really proud of it. And I think to date, I must have close to 60 videos on it now.
Yeah, I've got it up right now. And the whole deal of your general fitness and your golf specific, Golf Body Pro, or I can never get it, Pro
Yep.
Body or Body
Yep.
Pro?
Golf Body Pro.
The Aldoa, what else do you have in it? Mobility.
The most interesting section on my H3 TV. So I call it different channels. So H3 TV is one umbrella, and in that umbrella is general fitness. That's for general people that want to just feel better. And there's beginner workouts, intermediate workouts, advanced workouts, etc. And then you have the golf fitness, and I'm gradually been building up the golf fitness based on Guy Voyer's approach. And then you have the Aldoa channel, which is extremely popular. And then the other one is the mobility / targeted therapy channel. And in there, that one has gotten the most incredible response, because I have a session on how to literally reinforce every segment of the colon, for people that have, constipation and they have bowel problems and things like that. There's a section on pelvic floor problems. There's 3 different videos on pelvic floor problems. There's sections on shoulder problems. So, that's more of a specific targeted therapy where, hey, I have a problem with my shoulder. What can I do? And they can go right to that particular channel and find something on the shoulder.
Yeah, but that seems to be something that, a lot of people have golf training. And if you're an average person out there and someone's looking at Dan Hellman's site versus someone else's YouTube channel, that they might flop back and forth between, this guy says to train for golf like this and Dan says to train like this. Maybe I'll try this one. Maybe I'll try this one. But your targeted therapy, I don't really see anything else out there like it.
There's nothing like it out there.
So it's no surprise that one's. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. You got multiple videos on the pelvic floor, which is, I think you told me that's like the setup of the foundation of everything else above it.
It is, and the crazy thing is I get 2 inquiries all the time. Number one, by far the most prevalent, is back pain. Back pain, back pain, back pain, back pain. And the second most prevalent problem I get inquiries about is pelvic floor dysfunction, obturator internus pain, pudendal nerve issues, everything to do with the pelvic floor. And it's not just females, it's males as well.
What would be some of the things that each gender is having, the pain that they come to you with, or the discomfort, or something in their system that seems to be thrown off? What would be identifiers of that for anyone that might be listening?
With the pelvic floor?
Yeah.
So the pelvic floor is a very complex part of our anatomy. So you basically can break the body up into 4 diaphragms. So when people think about diaphragm, they think about the thoracic diaphragm, that muscle that helps us breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's one of the diaphragms. But you also have a pelvic floor diaphragm. And the reason why that is so important is if I jump up and down, the reason why my organs don't all fall down and go out of my rectum is because I have a pelvic floor. And that diaphragm down there needs to not only have strength, it also needs to have mobility, because our organs and our glands, they do move, they breathe, they oscillate. And so the pelvic floor diaphragm is the very bottom diaphragm. And when you go up to the next diaphragm, that'd be the thoracic diaphragm. And then you have a cervical thoracic diaphragm, which is roughly around the base of the neck area. And then you have the cranial diaphragm, which is at the skull. So you have those 4 diaphragms. Now, when you have problems with the pelvic floor diaphragm, a lot of issues can happen. So the pudendal nerve gives, not only does it give sensory, but it gives motor innervation to our entire pelvic floor. So if you're a female, you could have pain in the vagina, vulvodynia. If you're a male, you could have all sorts of prostate problems. The pudendal nerve also creates, so if for men, it could be lack of erection, erectile dysfunction. It could be just pain in the pelvic floor because of the pudendal nerve, lack of sensation in the pelvic floor. So the pudendal nerve is a very, very important nerve in the pelvic floor, and it is surrounded by a very powerful fascia called the obturator fascia. And if that gets tight, it can strangle the pudendal nerve, and it can cause all sorts of pelvic floor problems. It's just a myriad of things. I get stuff every week asking about the pelvic floor.
Do you see, do people come in where they have structural issue that causes some of these symptoms, or do they have, for example, like in watching some of your Instagram with James Nestor and the other gentleman, the doctor you had on the breathing, or is it, how do you identify whether it's something like a breathing issue that's causing them to have problems from a physical standpoint, or if it's a structural cause that's wreaking all this havoc?
Well, that's where I wear a couple of different hats. So if I think about all of my education with Paul Chek, and he created the Chek totem pole, and at the very top of the totem pole is the emotional, mental, spiritual being. So you have to start thinking, okay, what is the stress like in this person's life? Because I can't remember who it was that said that stress is modern day cancer. All right. And so, stress is what gets us all. The stress of daily life, tax bills or road rage or just
social media nowadays.
Social media nowadays. I mean, stress. And so sometimes the stress can be the driver. And then right below the emotional, mental, spiritual body, you have breathing. Breathing affects every biochemical process known to mankind. Most human beings overbreathe. Healthy people really only breathe about 6 to 10 times a minute. and we breathe through our nose, not our mouth. So, I have to decide, okay, is this a problem that's really high in the hierarchy, that's not cemented in the physical being, but it's more of an emotional, mental, spiritual stress? Or I stick on my Guy Voyer hat, and as an osteopath says structure dictates function. So if you have a good structure, you have a good function. So it's really you have to weigh both sides of the scale, because the pathology or the dysfunction could really be coming from either end.
Yeah, and it's amazing how one affects the other. And if someone if they're mouth breathers, and that could throw off their blood pressure or their structure, and then you got that way. And then, like, I know if my back gets a little stiff, or if it goes really stiff and I get out of whack, it makes it hard to breathe. And as I learn from you and talk to you and other people around the world and watch your Instagram and your stuff, it's like, wow, everything is so integrated. It's like, how do you ever figure out what is the thing to focus on? Because it's like it's unlimited. As you said, it's constantly changing and evolving. And wow.
And I think, and that's why I have surrounded myself or learned from people that have had clinical success. And this was first. So I had this interesting physical therapy background. And so I did my schooling at an osteopath school in Des Moines, Iowa. And it was a master's degree, and we had to do a thesis. And so I did a legitimate research project. It actually got published in the Journal of Orthopedic and Sport Physical Therapy. But doing this research project, I basically know that research, you can basically get whatever result you want. So, I always take research with a grain of salt. But the physical therapy profession, the medical profession, et cetera, they have gone to all of this research-based ideas, where if it's not research-based, I don't want to hear about it, which I think is crazy. Mm-hmm. And then, even though I have 1,000 people that will tell you that Aldoa is the best thing since sliced bread, somebody will come along and say, well, show me the research on that. Well, I don't fucking need research on that, because I have people telling me that it's got them out of pain. And then, during that same schooling, my mentor, Stephen Clark, was the first person that I ever met that did fascial therapy. And so we're in Des Moines, Iowa. Stephen had people driving from all other states to be treated by him. And I asked him one day, I said, Steve, I go, Mr. Clark, I go, what do you do? Why are all these people coming to see you? He goes, Dan, he said, I don't know. He said, they're on my table. I put my hands on them. I do my fascial releases. Many, 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 many of them have emotional breakdowns on my table. They cry. They get mad. I let them have their emotional release. I honor that. I accept that. I invite that into the therapy session, and they get better. So my question for you is, how do we ever study that? How can we ever really do a true research study on a human being who walks through your door every day, may not have had a good night's sleep, may have had a fight with their significant other, may have eaten something that might not agree with their system that day, may have had road rage as they got to the appointment to be studied? How do we factor in all of those variables of being a human being? You can't. It's impossible. So that's why I have no problem with people that do research. We need it. But I really surrounded myself with the people that got clinical results. And they couldn't prove it, and I didn't care. And neither does the patient.
No, I think the patient's looking for relief, and you as a therapist who really takes pride in his work is looking to make the patient feel better, and be damned with numbers. I mean, there is a point where science and art have to come together. And
Absolutely.
it to me, it seems like the world we live in is right now so caught up in science. In other words, measurement. It's measurement of this and measurement of that. And I think right now we're in a imbalance. If we go to the Czech, philosophy of the yin and yang, I think we have a definite imbalance of too much or looking overly structured as opposed to, look, is that really, it's good and you need it, but is that the whole, does that make the whole better? And you could apply that, I think, to your golf game, to your physical fitness, to the craziness that's going on in the world and the country right now. If things get out of balance, then it just becomes not good for anybody.
And everybody's different, Pete. There's those golfers that I don't want to see a number. I don't want to see a video. Just tell me what shot I need to hit. I need to visualize it. I need to feel it. And then you have people like Bryson who, they need to know, if there's mist on the left side of the ball before he hits it. There's just people that just they just react differently. And I guess I'm more in the camp of show me what you can do clinically, and I honor the research, but it's just not where my heart is.
When you started with the channel, was there hesitation, or knowing you, I don't think there was procrastination, but hesitation in that this is a whole new realm and you're kind of creating something new that you haven't done before, but it's going to be good for people. Because as people out there, whether they want to start a golf channel or TV channel or a fitness or an art channel, whatever they're going to do, and they look at Dan Hellman and H3 TV and they're like, well, Dan's this accomplished therapist and I'm just this person who lives in Des Moines, Iowa, or I'm in Hilton Head, South Carolina. And they say, I couldn't do something like that, but they don't realize that you had to start from somewhere, and everybody has reservations, and you're nervous and you're scared when you do something completely new, regardless of what it is. So can you kind of take us through that, your mindset and what you were thinking and how you progressed through it?
Well, there was a lot of reservation on it because, working with Voyer, everything is about complexity. And he was, he's anti online learning. He's anti, doing an anatomy, a cadaver lab with, an iPad. He's old school. And so I thought, well, I'm going to do this channel. I'm going to be putting my information out there. My colleagues are going to kill me over it. But at that point, I didn't care because, COVID was decimating everybody's business. And I thought to myself, well, either you got to think outside the box or, you yourself are going to be drawing unemployment. So, it pushed me into it. And of course, I had a lot of reservation. I didn't think, or I didn't know, how popular it was going to be. But I knew that I had a skill set of coaching and a skill set of teaching. And I have a pretty good idea of what I want. I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to put on camera and the platform that I wanted to create. So I just said, the hell with it. I'm going to go for it. And, there was a few trial and errors that was okay, that didn't work out. Let's try it this way. But once I saw the finished product, I thought, you know what, this isn't bad. And then I started sharing it with people and they're like, oh no, this is really good. So I had a lot of angst with the beginning of it, but again, life situations, they push us into certain corners. And for me, I felt like I was pushed in this corner where I had a lot of people that needed some help. They couldn't come to see me. So I got to give them something that they can access in the safety and the comfort and the security of their own home. And that's why I went forward with it.
Isn't that amazing how that happens? I think the Khan Academy kind of started in a similar fashion, and the guy who developed it did it for his niece or nephew who he's trying to help in their math problems. Mm-hmm. And now it's huge, and like be kind of cool to see your TV channel go huge like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on, because like I said, there's nobody that's really doing the stuff that I'm doing online. And sure, you can get the Peloton app and you can You can have a trainer kick your ass all over your own living room if you want, if that's what you're into. That's not what I'm into. Like I told you, my niche is fixing broken people. My niche isn't taking the high performance Ferrari and tuning it up to be even more high performance. My niche is taking the broken down car and fixing it so that it can go back on the road again.
Yeah, like this jalopy of mine that you're trying to get back to the Indy 500.
Actually, yeah, we're working on it.
I think our goal is to just be able to drive around the neighborhood, not even get to the Indy 500. But the reason I say that is knowing you. I've known you, God, it's hard to believe it's almost 3 years. This isn't something that you're doing so that you can go play golf every day and just have everything automated. This is something that you do because you have a general interest in helping people.
Sure.
And that's it's not to get you, at least from my perspective, and like I said, knowing you as long as I have, not to get you to just say, okay, now I can go to all these other things and I'm just going to slap up another video. No, you're doing this as a genuine interest in the way that I know you, that everything in your being is to want to help somebody. And this is like a real thing. It's not just some slapstick, let me try this while COVID's here. And when everything's back to the new normal, I'll just go back to the way that I was doing things before.
I appreciate you saying that. To be honest with you, I don't think there's going to be going back to quote unquote normal. I think everything is going to always be a little bit different now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you read my latest blog, but about my Sri Lankan kid, 18-year-old golfer. But
yeah, he was on your Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was that, and the video of him swinging at what, 120?
122 miles an hour,
yeah,
I believe it was, or something like that. Yeah. And so, I tell the story in my blog, and sometimes when I blog, I let my feelings and my emotions go down on the paper and not worry about any technical stuff. And one of the things that I wrote about, which was very real for me at the time, I was sitting in a class in Montreal with Dr. Voyer. I had just finished my 2.5-year, research project with Mr. Golfer, and I was burnt out. I remember that class. I could not focus. I was having a hard time. I'm always usually one of the students that is on top of everything, and I'm the one that answers questions, and I'm there legitimately in full force. But this particular class, I just could not focus on anything, nothing. And I was really kind of devastated. I thought, what's wrong with me? And I got this text message from Shane Gillespie, who I rehabbed one of his golfers before. And he said, hey, I have this 18-year-old kid from Sri Lanka. He's got a massive disc bulge. The two surgeons says he needs immediate fusion. Can I send you the MRI? And my initial gut feeling was no. I don't want to do this again. And I said, okay, send the MRI. I look at the MRI, I see it, and I'm like, oh God. And then, all right, let me show this to Guy. So I took it up to Guy, and Guy looks at it, and I see the look in his eyes, and he goes, oof. And I thought, yeah, it's not good, is it? He goes, yeah, but he goes, it's 50-50 chance. You got to get your hands on him. You got to see what his work ethic is like, on and on and on. And I thought, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, I guess. And so I texted Shane back, and I said I would see him. And at that point, he was in Memphis because he plays at a college in Memphis. And he flew to see me. And when he walked in that day, I said to myself, what the F did you just do? Because he was in a bad way. I mean, he was crooked. He couldn't sleep at night. I mean, he was thin as a, oh my God, he was thin as a rail. He had to sleep on the floor of his hotel room. I thought to myself, and then when he was leaving me after a week, he was flying straight to Sri Lanka. Ooh. And I thought, okay, yeah. So it was really a lot of angst on my part. But again, because like you said, I do have a genuine empathy and compassion and drive to help people. That's why I'm in the profession. that I decided to give it a shot. And I always thought if I give my best effort, I can always, look myself in the mirror. And fortunately for me, Vinod was probably the hardest working client I have ever come across. He did everything I asked him to. And when he sent me that video when I was in Asheville of him swinging the club and 320 some yards or 330 yards, whatever he hit it, with no surgery, no back pain, never working on speed because I told him he cannot work on speed. All right. I don't want him doing any stupid deadlifting or any heavy duty exercise like that. To watch him do that sent chills up my spine and made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. And it was very gratifying. You look, as a therapist, you look for these wins because, trust me, not all of them are wins. And when you get those wins, it really does put the wind back in your sails to help other people.
Your desire to help people like that, because as you said, you were worn out, emotionally, probably physically, every way that you could be worn out from working with somebody.
I was toast.
Yeah,
Pete,
you were shot.
I was burnt toast. I was shot.
Where do you get that inner strength to say, I've got to do this for? Is it your something in you that it's a natural desire to help others? Is it an inner strength of I don't knowing you, and I could be wrong. I've been wrong before on people. It doesn't sound like it's a quest or thirst for achievement, not to help somebody like that. Because you obviously don't need another feather in your head. You have more than enough.
Right.
Just a nurturing might be the wrong word, but as long as I've known you, and from others who knew you well before I did, so yeah, Dan is just that's what he is. It's his DNA. Right? It's probably what makes him so good at what he does.
I think if you look at archetypes, I am the caregiver archetype, which is not a great archetype to have because you sacrifice yourself for others. Mm-hmm. I realize that, and I have done that in my entire life. So I am the caregiver archetype. I also was helped by a physical therapist when I was a junior in high school, and I lived, ate, breathed, slept basketball, and I got injured before the playoffs. And I had a physical therapist help me get back to make the playoffs, and how gratifying that was, and how thankful I was for him helping me achieve, my dream of what I wanted to do. So that probably cemented. And I know that's why I went into being a physical therapist, is because of that experience that I had with a physical therapist. So I think it's just a combination of having the caregiver archetype and, having an experience as a young kid of having that person in my corner to support me, and how powerful that is. And that is probably one of the reasons why I get along so well with Chris Como, is because Chris Como and I are very much alike. Chris will go out of his way. He will give you the shirt off his back. He will lose sleep figuring out why you have the chipping yips or why you can't do this, because that's just the kind of guy he is. And so for Bryson to win this, I sent Chris a message this morning, and I said, nobody deserves this more than you do. Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Yeah.
This is the kind of guy he is.
It's a unique person. I've had, it's only happened a couple times, but I've had students that we've been out on the driving range, and they come to me and they call me up and say, hey, it's bad. We got to get together. And if for some reason I can't figure it out, I don't sleep because my mind will not, it's just nonstop working. It's running over, they're swinging through my head over and over and over and looking for the one little thing that I might have missed when we were at the session. And I tell them, I said, look, give it a couple of days. Like if your back is really bad, you're going to tell somebody, let the inflammation come down before we really take a look at what's going on. And I'll say, come back in a couple of days, no charge, because you're coming to me to fix something. And if I couldn't fix it that time, then I'm definitely going to fix it when you come back. And
that's why you're good at what you do, Pete.
It just wears my brain out.
sure, that's the human empathy and compassion to help somebody solve a problem.
Let me ask you this question, because you go through it at a much higher degree than I do, because I'm not teaching golf as much as you're training people. At what point do you, because I've in learning from you and hearing you talk about this before when we did the show, and watching and learning from some others, it's like, okay, how do if I know I'm this way, I've got to learn how to cope with that better, because if I do get to a point where where I completely shut down and I have to take that time off to recharge, that doesn't do the people that I'm trying to help a whole lot of good. Or eventually you're going to get burned out of it and you're going to get out of your field, early retirement, so to speak. So is there any ways that you've identified or worked on that have helped you maybe not go 110%, maybe you back down to 105 or 100? And so you're still able to help your clients do what they need to do while not burning yourself out?
Well, sure. And that's H3 TV. I mean, H3 TV is giving me that ability to play golf, because I love to play golf. It's to play golf when I want to play golf. It's to create some passive income. And so I don't have to be 100% in the mix 100% of the time. And I just took on a new client in Jupiter, somebody that wants me to drive up, several times a week. And initially I said no. And I thought to myself, well, wait a minute, H3 TV is doing pretty good. I think I could probably help this client out. It's going to be a few hours out of my day each time I drive up and drive back. And it kind of freed up, H3 TV freed up my ability to be able to allow me to give some of myself again, because before, like I told you, I was pretty much shut down. I was shot. And, I guess I have to thank COVID in a stupid way to help push me into finding that outlet that I could dedicate my time to by myself to create content, which would free up my time to want to play golf and to do other things that I love to do. So there's, I think everything happens for a reason, and this was just perfect timing.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's happened. I've got definitely going to, I sent it to everybody. I say, you got to check this out, because they're always asking me, you're always working on your physical fitness and you're working on this. What are you working with now? What are you doing? I said, just check out Dan's new stuff. It speaks for itself. And I said, if it doesn't work, then let me know, and then I'll get you connected with Dan, and you can go down there and figure it out.
Well, yeah, listen, I mean, there's no risk. I mean, it's a 3-day free trial. It's either $47 a month or it's $470 for the year. I mean, I charge now $350 an hour to come and see me in person. So you could have all of my exercise stuff for under $50 a month. And the power, Pete, is in, yes, sometimes you do need manual therapy. You do need somebody to put their hands on you. But it's the exercise at the end of the day, because Guy always says, you are your own best therapist. And as long as the people are empowered with the right things to do, and that they're going to take control of their own lives, and like you and I were talking about before we got on the call, if they're going to start taking responsibility for their own lives, the content is there. They can do that. And again, that's just like you said, I didn't do H3 TV because I just wanted to completely, crawl into a hole and never come out again. I did it for myself, to free up time and to have empathy and compassion for myself for once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the world needs Dan Hellmans around you. We don't need you frying yourself out and disappearing and just playing golf and going to great places and having awesome espressos.
Hey, but that sounds like fun too.
That's not a bad alternative. No, but we want you to do that on vacations and not like for permanent.
I turned 50 in March. My father worked 3 jobs until the day that he died at the age of of 69. And, I'm choosing not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think the two most powerful words that a human being can speak is I choose. Because every day we wake up, we get to make decisions. My dog wakes up every morning, she's going to be a dog. There's no changing that. But the human beings, we can be and we can choose whatever we want.
It's a powerful thing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
We've got a few minutes to go. Let's do the usual. Well, I've got some new rapid fire for you if you want to run through these. So, one of the new ones that's gotten pretty popular is if you were in the Ryder Cup, what would your walk-up song to the first tee be?
Probably Leash by Pearl Jam.
Oh, nice one. Let's see. If you could have anyone swing on tour, whose would it be?
If I could have anyone swing on tour, whose would it be?
Uh-huh.
Oh my God! Lately, I'm infatuated with Colin Morikawa's swing. I love that swing. But to be honest with you too, I absolutely love, even how weird it looks, I love Matt Wolf's swing. It's just, I don't know, it's there's something about it. But I would say if I was going to take somebody, it'd be Morikawa.
Is it the bowed left wrist? Is it the straight with the just little 3-foot bleed at the end? What is it about his swing?
With Collins?
Uh-huh.
I love his silky, smooth, slow backswing and then that beautiful transition at the top.
Kid's got a bright future ahead of him.
Oh my God, yes. And he's so wickedly smart, and he's a man in a child suit right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely an old soul.
And he's not short by any means, but in the bomb era, I mean, he's showing that you don't have to hit it or carry it 330 and be successful.
Yeah.
Let's see. If you had an emoji on your club head, what would it be?
Oh, if I had an emoji on my club head, what would it be? Probably that little guy with just the straight line across for his mouth. There'd be no smile and no frown, just kind of an in between.
Last book you read, and given how many you read, this is a very interesting question. I'm anxious to hear the answer to.
Oh, the last book I read was. Oh yeah, it was a book. It was a book on by Osho, and I forget the name of it right now. Where is it at? I have it right in front of me. Oh, it's people are gonna freak out. This one, The God Conspiracy by Osho.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was because of you. When you had Robert Yang on, I went and got his hole-in-one approach, and then I reached out to him to come on the show. He's got a lot of stuff going on. He can't do podcasts, but he's definitely another one. So Robert, and if you're here,
Robert's awesome.
Robert and Chris are earmarked for future to come on.
So whose swing do you like right now?
I like Wolf's swing a lot. I like him as a person. I think that that kid's got superstar written all over him. And I said this to somebody the other day about George Gankis. I said, obviously he's extremely knowledgeable about the swing, but to me, what's even more impressive is the kids that he's turning out are phenomenal people. I mean, it seems like he either works with kids who are either already have great fundamentals as a person, or he helps develop that. And I think that's equally, if not more important than what he's doing with their golf games. And
so
I haven't met him yet, but
I told you I took a lesson from him, right?
Yeah, that was on Instagram. Is it still working pretty good?
Yeah, so I took a lesson from him when I was out in California, and he's super nice, super cool dude. And he said, hey, when he found out who I was and who I worked with, etc., he's like, hey, cool. You can hang. If you want to hang around, you can. And so I basically hung around with him all day and watched Klein at one of his clients that was right after me was Tommy Armour. So, Tommy Armour, how old is he now?
Oh, he's got to be in his 60.
He's got to be, somewhere around there.
Yep.
And so I saw everyone from Tommy Armour to teenage girls to small boys. And Pete, they all freaking smash the ball. So what? I don't know. Genghis' people just create some serious rotational speed.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can say. And it was fun to really watch him work with all these different people, all different body types, all different ages, male, female. It was quite the fun day.
When I first started looking at his information a couple years ago, and I would say it was a couple months, I met, whether he got it or not, I sent it to his website. And I told him, I said, look, I think that you've got something, you have the keystone to what a lot of people have been looking for. And I commended him for it and said, congratulations, because I think you've got something very, very special. And I spent a lot of years researching different things, and
sure.
he's really doing some good stuff, and I commend him for it.
Well, here's a guy that took all of this stuff, and he's got an incredible online presence.
Mm-hmm. That was one thing. I was when I asked you the question, where did the inspiration or the development of this come from? And I didn't know if it was going to be someone like him, because I knew you had seen him. And he had just gotten so big that he had to do something different, because he was just giving everything away for free. And at a certain point, you want to help people, but you can't give it to them for free, because as Paul always said, if you give something away for free, people aren't going to give it any value.
Nope.
And as much as you and I and Chris and George and all these people want to help other people improve at game and life, you've got to have some charge from it, because you got to eat and you got to make it a value, or else you're going to be wasting time on people who just want to come to you for something free.
Yep, there's got to be skin in the game.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Best course you ever played?
Best course I ever played. Oh my God, the old course, hands down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's on my bucket list.
There's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
You are definitely an expert on this one. Best coffee shop in the U.S., if you had to pick one.
Oh my God, best coffee shop in the U.S. Well, I mean, we have a coffee shop here in Fort Lauderdale that I think is second to none, called the Grind Project, or the Project Grind. They do an incredible job on their espresso. So I would have to go with them or High Five in Asheville, North Carolina.
I think I've been to that one, because we were there last Christmas.
Nice.
Yeah. Let's see, a couple more, and then I know you got to get running. If you were stranded on an island, what two things could you not do without?
Well, the obvious water. Let's see. If I was stranded, to be a smartass, music and tequila. A really high quality tequila and music. That would be just fine.
Mm-hmm. You could hang there for a while with those two things.
Can I throw my dog in there too?
Absolutely. I'm a dog person myself. We'll rephrase that and say you and your dog are on an island. What two things would you?
Okay, there you go. There you go. Music and tequila, then.
Early bird or night owl?
Oh my God, I'm in bed by 9 o'clock every night.
You know, Doc Hollis is trying to get me to do that. I'm a night owl. It's just harder than hell for me to get to bed before 10 o'clock.
Pete, you physically repair between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m.
I know, and that's why I can do 10, but to go sooner, it's just like my whole life has been like that.
I love crawling into bed. Sometimes 8:30, 8:45, grab a book, do some reading, and then it's lights out. But I automatically wake up pretty much every morning by 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't set an alarm in probably 3 years. So no matter whether I'm on the West Coast or the East Coast, I've always wake up early. But I go to bed early.
Well, you guys and Justin, you've all gotten on me enough that at least I've gone from the 11:30 midnight. Now I'm back down to. I usually try to get in bed by 10. Sometimes it's 10:30, but at least I feel some sense of accomplishment that I've knocked it back an hour to two, and I'll keep working.
Well, probably one of the reasons why I do that too is. Listen, I don't like using the word bored. I don't know really what boredom is, but with all of the thousands of TV stations that we have and the total crap that's on television, I find myself as the evening goes on after you have dinner and you're settled down and maybe you watch something on Netflix or you read a book or whatever. It's just at some point it's like, okay, I'm ready to go to bed. Let's get to the next day.
Yeah, I've done TV fast, and the last one I did, and this is crazy, was the day I came out of it was the day that the George Floyd thing broke, and I said, "Holy shit, what the fuck just happened?" And now I'm like afraid to do it because I don't want to turn the TV on and see. Maybe I just keep it off permanently.
That one definitely had a lasting impact on me too. I'll tell you that. Oof.
Let's see, a couple more. Your go-to drink on the golf course?
I drink nothing but water.
Sea salt or no? Or just straight water?
No, usually, I have a collection of water in my office, so I'm usually taking my water with me to the golf course. I remember the one time I tried to drink beers with friends playing golf, and I could not even hit the golf ball. I thought, screw this shit. Golf is way too fucking difficult. There's no way I can drink alcohol and play golf at the same time.
Maybe it's just because I played for so long and played relatively high level, but I either play exceptionally well or just god awful. There is no in between. I either shoot 6-7 under for 9, or I'm shooting 10 over. It's just a definite Jekyll Hyde.
It doesn't work for me, man.
But nowadays, I mean, again, since you and Doc, if I have one bourbon in the evening, if I say, "Oh, that was pretty good," I'll have another one. Oh, I'm starting to feel it after 2. I'm like, oh, two.
So what's your go-to bourbon?
Right now, it's Ghost Coast because a good friend of mine, they owned a distillery in Savannah, and if I can talk you into it when you come up, we'll go over because they do an awesome job. They have a 12-minute movie on the history of alcohol in Savannah, from an Indian trading post to pirates to all through Prohibition and everything, and then they take you on a tour through the barrel room and then the mill, or not the still, and the whole thing. And then they have a bar inside the building where they're allowed to sell their own vodka, orange vodka, bourbon. And I'll get with Krista. Krista Dunton's come on the show probably next week, and her and I will get together and try to work out some dates for you to come up here and do a seminar. Last question. Best line, favorite line from Caddyshack?
Oh my gosh, favorite line from Caddyshack. That's a peach, hon.
That one's filled with them. I like that rapid fire because everybody's got their favorite in that one. You've got classes, you got some events you're doing coming up. You want to tell everybody about it so they can check it out, and where can they find it?
I just have one class coming up October 9th through the 11th, and it's going to be the first ever Guy Boyer Soma training course taught virtually. So this should be fun, by Bryce Turner and myself. And it's a class called Global Postural Stretching. Global Postural Stretching, I use these pretty much every day with my golfers. And the difference is, if you do myofascial stretching, you're working on a specific fascia. Global postural stretching is exactly how it sounds. You working with global movements. So really effective for different sports, especially golf. Mm-hmm. And there's even components where in this program where the students will learn how to literally stretch the chambers of certain organs. So like there's stretches for the kidney, for the colon, the uterus. There's several. I think there's 5 to 10 global postural stretches for the viscera. So it's a really important class. Techniques that I use all the time that I've had really good results with. Then after that, I don't have anything scheduled right now, just because everything's in flux because of COVID. And by law, I think I'm only allowed to have 9 people in my studio. So it's just not worth it right now.
Mm-hmm. So to tell everybody the website where they can find H3TV and all your other information.
So if you just go to my main website, which is H3, the letter H, the number 3, H3bydan.com. On the toolbar, you will see a little H3TV icon. and you just click on that, and that takes you right to H3 TV, and it will ask you to create a password and account. It will ask you for your credit card to pick either a monthly or a yearly subscription, but there is 3 days built-in free. On the third day, if you don't like what you are subscribing to, a button will appear and you can cancel at any time without paying a penny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so everybody go check that out. And social media handles, where can people follow you on social media?
You can always follow me Facebook, H3 by Dan. Instagram, same thing, H3 by Dan Hellman. Twitter, I think, is Dan Hellman 1. But I've been in the profession long enough now. If you just type my name in the Google machine,
mm-hmm.
I'll pop up pretty much everywhere.
All right. Well, anybody, if you're not able to sign up for Dan's class, you don't have to be a therapist or anything like that. I took the myofascial class. It was eye-opening. They're awesome. I highly recommend it to anybody that wants to learn more about their body, their sport, their health, and anything like that. And then, of course, check out H3 TV. It'll do your body, your mind, and everything else a world of good.
Like we say, better body, better life.
Mm-hmm. Dan, it's always a pleasure. I love learning from you. Every time I talk to you, I learn something else, and always indebted to you.
Thanks, Pete. Appreciate it. Take care, and speak to you soon.
You got it. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you enjoyed it, you can find more information on today's episode and other topics at golf360.blog. There you'll find the show notes and links related to this episode, as well as any other episode that we've done so far to date. If you're interested in improving your game and would like to learn more from yours truly by taking a private lesson, a half-day or multi-day school, club or putter fitting, you can reach me through the blog site or by email, pete@golf360.blog. So some of you may be asking, what is the golf paradigm? All you have to do is click on the homepage while on my blog site to discover how you can start playing better than you ever thought possible. Or you can simply sign up, again, on the blog page for my instructional videos where I give regular tips on all areas of the game to include the swing, club design and fitting, health, fitness and nutrition, the mental aspects, and equally as important, the integration of all those things together. I'm also on social media, and you can find me at The Golf Paradigm. That's PARADIGM, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, also under the same name, The Golf Paradigm. Facebook is usually the best way to reach me for questions and or comments, and I look forward to hearing what all of you have to say. This podcast is brought to you in part by Old South Golf Links. A short ride across a bridge from Hilton Head Island is one of the area's finest golf courses and a hidden treasure. Set up on towering pines and ancient oaks with sweeping marsh vistas, truly makes Old South Golf Links a one-of-a-kind golfing experience. The Clyde Johnson design was named one of the top 10 new public courses when it opened, and it also takes full advantage of the natural beauty of the Low Country. Old South is a fun and unique challenge for golfers of every skill level and a favorite of both locals and visitors. Whether it's your first time here or you're a regular, you'll be treated and feel like family. From the bag drop to check-in at the fully stocked pro shop with both men's and women's apparel, to breakfast or lunch before or after your round, the staff is always ready and willing to help. Experience for yourself why Old South is one of the premier golf courses in the Hilton Head area and why it will quickly become a favorite of yours too. Visit them in person or online at www.oldsouthgolf.com, or to make it tee time, simply call the pro shop at 843-785-5353.